The creation of the International Space Station served as a symbol of the establishment of relations between the Soviet Union and the United States of America following the end of the Cold War. This unique scientific research center located in Earth's orbit has become a facility for solving tasks in the most extensive areas, from medicine to the technology of producing new substances and materials. Moreover, astronauts from different countries, regardless of the relations between their states on Earth, coexist on board. People are delivered to the ISS via the Soyuz space shuttle. One day, biologist Kira and engineer Christian are sent to the station where 4 cosmonauts are already present as Soyuz enters orbit. The flight control center congratulates the pair, who are eagerly awaiting docking, joking about the Russian tradition of knocking on the door 3 times before opening it. Finally, the newcomers are greeted by their new teammates, American Gordon and Russian cosmonauts. Naika and brothers Nikolai and Alexi. Kira is amazed by the weightlessness and has to adjust to this new way of existence, despite the language barrier and cultural differences Americans and Russians get along. Nae teaches Kira new Russian words commonly exchanged on the station. Then the woman is settled into her section. Gordon shows ways to get comfortable for the night. Personally, he sleeps in a bag, but some prefer free flight. The woman immediately gets to work placing the mice she brought with her into cages. Alexi helps her and explains that they also had many mice, but they cannot live in space, as there's nothing for them to hold on to. In the evening, the astronauts have a festive dinner, where each shares stories about their place of birth, and they sing popular songs together. The only rule on the station is not to talk about politics. The newcomers distribute gifts from loved ones, and souvenirs brought from Earth. Then Kira looks at Earth from the space station for the first time, and her colleagues explain the main effect of the view. From here, borders are invisible, and all of humanity is united, and indivisible later. Now helps Kira get ready for the night, as the first night is the hardest. But in the morning, the woman wakes up in excellent spirits, which is spoiled when she sees the mice in poor condition. Distraught, Kira looks at Earth and suddenly notices numerous flashes in the United States. She calls the others, and people realize that a nuclear war has started on the planet. Gordon orders everyone to immediately leave the dome and closes the shutters. Communication on board the station is interrupted, but everything works in a normal mode. Then Gordon receives a written message from Houston stating that an act of aggression has occurred between Russia and America, and he must take control of the station by any means necessary. Later, he discusses this message with Kira and Christian, who suspect that the Russians received a similar order from their government. Nevertheless, people decide to wait at least a day before taking any action. But then, Na reports a problem with the thrust. It turns out that the station is in too low in orbit and could fall to the Earth's surface unless the center makes system adjustments. The first tension among the astronauts begins to arise as each thinks of their family. Left below, Nikolai informs the crew that the radio may not work because the antenna outside the station is broken and it can only be fixed manually. Gordon goes out into space and helps him put on his spacesuit and kisses the man goodbye, making it clear that their relationship is more than just professional. Once in open space, Gordon sees Earth engulfed in flames and asks Kira not to let anyone near the windows. Then he begins his work to distract her colleague from negative thoughts. Kira asks Gordon about his relationship with NA. He admits that he met her here in space and changes the topic to Kira's personal life. She shares that she spent 7 years studying organ replacement but faced failure, though everything might work out in zero gravity. Meanwhile, Alexi listens to their conversation and then cuts the wire, while Christian tries to find the reason for the loss of communication. The Russian cosmonaut replaces the damaged wire with another piece that looks intact, so the American finds nothing wrong. Gordon, meanwhile, approaches the antenna, for which he has to unhook the overly short safety tether. He realizes that the antenna is fine, then a mechanical arm starts moving, threatening the astronaut's safety. It turns out to be Nikolai's doing, without the knowledge of Alexia. Nika. Gordon tries to call out to Kira, but the mechanical arm knocks him off the station's surface and throws him into open space. NAIA and Kira try to astronaut through the windows, then put on spacesuits and rush to the airlock. But upon extending the rescue rope, they find no astronaut at its end. Kira wants to go out and look for Gordon, but Christian asked her not to leave him alone with the Russians. They in turn confessed to NAAA that on the day communication was lost, they also received orders to eliminate the Americans by any means necessary. Alexi apologized as not thinking his brother would do such a thing to Gordon, but the latter reminds him that he has no doubt. The Americans would have done the same to them. Noam J.A. pleads with Alexi to save Gordon and threatens to tell everything to the Americans. She cries out of powerlessness while Kira and Christian conclude that the Russians attacked first, and Gordon is no more furious at her comrade's treachery. NAAA goes to to Kira and asks for her help. She is willing to give Kira her key in exchange for the key to the American locker, while she distracts her colleagues. Kira must sneak into the laboratory open Locker 0, take out samples of radiation sickness. Medicine developed by Alexi in orbit get into the Soyuz and return to Earth, because only by having the medicines can the survivors of the nuclear war be saved. Initially hesitant Kira is persuaded by the argument that only the state with the medicines can dictate terms to the defeated, and agrees exchanging her key for Nika's. Nika sneaks to the location of the oxygen tubes, junction where she is caught by Nikolai and Alexi. They realize that the woman is ready to blow up the entire station just to avenge her lover's death. Nikolai tries to persuade her to abandon the idea, while Kira rushes to the laboratory. She can't find the Zero locker when Christian admits that there isn't one. Kira realizes that NIA deceived them, and they go to confront the Russians about their plans. Meanwhile, Alexi tries to persuade Na not to blow up the station, but she behaves aggressively. Christian, sneaking up behind her, hits her on the head with a cylinder, but miscalculating his strength kills her. As the Russians come to terms with this, Christian and Kira decide to hide, hoping for communication to be restored. The man is devastated as he only wanted to neutralize Nay, not kill her, and cries from the guilt. The brothers discuss the situation, and Nikolai asks Alexi to help him kill the Americans. He reminds him of their duty to their country and people, but Alexi refuses to participate in murder. He mourns for Na, while Nikolai takes a screwdriver, goes in search of the pair. Later, Alexi, looking out of the porthole, suddenly sees Gordon clinging to the side of the ISS, the Russian cosmonaut, uses the mechanical arm to help Gordon return to the station, while Nikolai unsuccessfully searches for Kira. He tries to deceive the Americans, saying that Nay is alive. They need to gather together and think about what to do next. But instead of Kira and Christian, Gordon appears armed with a drill, his friends shocked by his resurrection. Sekshin appear, the American demands to know what happened to Nika, and Alexi has to inform him of her death. Enraged Gordon locks all his colleagues in the compartment and attacks Nikolai with the drill. The men fight until Alexi tries to open the door. Nikolai takes the drill from Gordon and wounds him, while Gordon pulls out Nikolai's screwdriver and in turn strikes his opponent in the neck. The astronauts who open the compartment find only 2 dead bodies floating in Zero. Gravity embrace the survivors, arrange the bodies according to protocol, and retreat to their sections, trying to make sense of what happened, while the station orbits over the burning Earth. Later, Kira goes to the laboratory, examines the room, and finally finds the Zero module. This means Na did not lie. She rushes to Christian, and in his sleep capsule finds the Soyuz, spacesuit in Russian research. It seems Christian was preparing to return to Earth alone. Meanwhile, Christian sabotages the station's life support system and tries to frame Kira, telling Alexi about Naik's plan to make the American woman take his research and escape. He accuses Kira of selfish motives. When Alexi notices malfunctions, he observes a strange tension between Kira and Christian because of a knife the astronaut is using to make a sandwich. But Christian suddenly smiles and asks the Russian cosmonaut to leave them alone for a while. Alexi floats to the door, but Kira suddenly speaks a phrase about mutual support that Na taught her. Alexi turns around, then Christian confesses he disabled the life support system, grabs a knife and attacks Kira, and Alexi. A fight ensues. While Alexi blocks the knife with his hand, Kira strangles their colleague. Nevertheless, Alexi receives a knife wound to the hand Kira provides him with first aid, and later they together restore the life support system in the laboratory. Kira notices a net installed in the mouse cage, which kept the animals alive. Realizing Alexi did this, suddenly the communication system turns on, normalizing the station's orbit, and the threat of falling is averted. Messages from their leadership arrive on the astronauts' computers asking them to confirm that they have completed their missions to take control of the station. However, instead of responding or following government orders, Alexei and Kira take the research results board the Soyuz and fall to Earth in an uncontrolled free fall. Lastly, Alexi asks where they will fly to which Kira finds no answer. This is where the movie ends. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Thanks watching my video.